Excited to show you guys a few just different tips and tricks to get you more comfortable with the Oracle ERP system today. So let me go ahead and get you guys into the environment here, and we will go from there. All right, so everyone should be able to see the demo environment here that I'll be navigating in today. Couple different things as I just navigate through the system here. Keep in mind, this is the demo environment, demo data. We're not showing you any other live client data here. So just want to be mindful of that. And as I go through, I know the focus today initially is on saved searches, but there's a couple different items such as vacation rules that we think you'll really be able to take advantage of as well. So first and foremost, want to make sure that you guys are familiar with the concept of global searches. So global searches is something that often gets overlooked by teams, right? You get into your comfort zones in the system and don't necessarily realize you have this capability right here on your landing page. So our global searches are going to be available really anywhere that you are throughout the application. So as I'm on my home page here, I'll be able to do a global search on really a number of different things: actions, items in the navigator, people in the system. So just a quick example that I show you here will be around asset inquiry. So as you can see, I'm just typing in here. It's not case sensitive. It's going to pull up everything really that has the word asset in it. So if I'm looking for certain people and I want to see certain people who have one of our asset roles, these people will pop up. But if I want to get quickly to just my asset inquiry as our example here, I can do so just by clicking directly from here, and it'll take me to that page. So this is a really nice feature to keep in mind from your, again, that landing home page, as if we're not always, familiar with all the different names and terminology throughout the system, right? You might not remember exactly asset inquiry, or you might not remember exactly what are the steps to navigate to get there. You always have that ability to go to that global search on your home page and just search for any keywords. So asset, accounts payable, accounts receivable, journal entry, all of those different sort of keywords you can search in that global search there. You can also access that global search as I'm on another page, right? So I'm no longer on the home page, but I still have the ability to do a global search. So it just looks a little bit different. It's this magnifying glass up here. If I click on it, it pulls up that global search for me again. So no matter where you are in the system, you should still see that little search button, click on it, and it pulls up that global search for you. So again, really nice so that you don't have to memorize all the various navigation paths to get to the areas that you use most in the system. The last thing I want to show you here around global searches is the ability to really choose the different categories that are pulling up. So if you're like, you know what, this people feature doesn't really mean as much to me, you do have the ability here to click on this little gear icon and personalize this search for your own needs. So as I click on that little icon there, it shows the different group categories for me that I can search by or hide. So that people one, for example, if I want to unselect that, the next time I search for asset, once I click OK here, I now only see navigator. The people list has been removed. So this is really just personal to you when you make those settings. It doesn't apply to other users, just personal to you when you make those settings. That's why they call it personalize your global search. Couple other, just to give you some ideas of how you might be able to use this outside of assets. Another really helpful one is actions instead of just what you might find in the navigator. So, if you type the word create, you'll see a number of different actions in here. So create an expense report is one good example of that. So doing, add, right? Just different actions in there gives you a little bit of an idea. So add a time card, add a contingent worker, non-worker, right? If you're adding new users to the system. Good to just get some general actions that you might use on a day basis or throughout your week, and do those as some of your personal saved preferences here. Okay, so next on the list here after our global searches that we want to walk you through, I'll go back to my home page here. Next on the list that we want to walk you through today is your favorites and your recents. So as I look to my top right in the screen here and I see this star icon and I hover over it, you'll see favorites, recent items. You've probably noticed the star before, you may have used it here and there. But we find that a lot of people really don't take enough advantage of this great capability. My personal favorite actually is more so this recent items I find very useful. So when I click on that recent items, I can see the pages that I was just on before this. So some of the pages I was on earlier this morning, I was on invoices, watch lists, right? These different areas will pop up. The last place I was on will pop up in this recent items list here. So I know, you don't really want to use the back button, as you probably know in the Oracle system. Instead of doing that, you can quickly go here and look at the page that you were last on or the last few pages that you were on from your recent items. Favorites is nice for really your own organization purposes. So just the default examples that we have here is within the general ledger. I have my dashboard, my financial reports, where I really have my income statement, my balance sheets in here, just as some examples. So I have it grouped by my various categories, but this is all really how you want to group it. So like I said earlier, if you're in certain areas of the system more than others, make sure that you spend some time, right? It takes maybe 5-10 minutes of your day to come in here and either add to favorites and add a new favorite just by navigating to that page, clicking add to favorites, or also by doing manage favorites. This gives you the ability to add new folders by clicking this button here. Within those folders, you can really choose how you want to organize each of these different areas within the folders. Just like the global search, this is going to be personal to you and will not necessarily apply to others who are using the same environment. Okay, so after favorites and recents, what I want to show you next is your watch list capability. So just going down the line here in our top right, we have our watch list. If I hover over this flag, we have our watch list capabilities. So the system comes with a number of default watch list options and settings here. Some of the ones that I see people find the most useful are around approvals that are pending. So a good example is going to be invoices pending approval from others. I can quickly see here that there's 6 different invoices out there that are pending approval from others that are being held up from the payment process. And I can click directly on that link and it will actually take me to that page here. So it takes me directly to that number 6 others. And I can see right now the current approvers that each of these invoices are waiting on. So a lot that are assigned to Alani here. Just to show you real quick how this is grouped, you see just the defaults that are chosen in your preferences. So I'll show you in a moment if you want to see a different set of watch list items on your page, how you can control that. But within this watch list page here, there's just going to be a number of different things in addition to those approvals. So another good example is going to be incomplete journals. You're getting close to your period close and you have a high volume of incomplete journals out there or a high volume that are requiring attention, maybe sitting there in error. Really important to make sure that you're keeping an eye on these watch list items throughout the month to really speed up your close process at the end of the day. To be able to edit what shows up on those watch list items is where you're going to go to preferences. So I will show you how to do that here next. If you click on either your picture, if you have a picture, or if you click on your initials in that top right, same place you'd go to sign out, you see your preferences here. So I'm going to navigate to my set preferences to show you guys what it would look like to update those watch list settings. So in my preferences here, I see the watch list, and look at all of these options that you have to take advantage of here that are disabled in our demo environment that you can enable in your own environment. So we saw that, consigned inventory was one of the ones we saw. That's because it's enabled here. Another one that we saw was the example I gave of invoices pending approval from others. We see that as checked here. So that's really what's causing and determining which of these categories, and within each category, which of these different items is showing up in your watch list. So you have the ability to either collapse all of journals and say, I want to disable the entire journal section. That doesn't apply to me. I don't want to see it. Or you could say within journals that I only want to see certain things. Maybe I only really want to see pending approval from others because it's my job to really monitor that and make sure that our teams are following our approval processes. So lots of good options here. And then if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I have this option as well to say I want to hide all items with no results found. So when you were seeing earlier, there's a number of watch list items that had a 0 next to it. This actually would suppress those so that you would only see watch list items that actually have some counts other than 0 in there. If I go back to my preferences, just really a few other things that I want to make sure you're aware of located in your preferences. One is regional, so important to make sure. I often have a lot of questions around time zone. So Oracle is going to set to this coordinated universal time UTC. I get a lot of questions around why am I seeing this time zone that's way off from my own time zone or really any US hours. You do have the option to go ahead and update to your applicable time zone here. No, that will not cause any issues with scheduled processes that you have on certain times. Those will have their own standard time across the entire application. This is just going to apply to your own personal time that you are seeing through different areas of the system and on, time stamped on certain reports and whatnot when you run them, again, for your own view. Date and time format is another question we get often. So, sometimes a strong preference or even really a requirement to make sure that you're using a certain date format or time format in here as well. Maybe people don't want to see the seconds or they do want to see the seconds. Really the ability to change all of that in here. And then the last thing that I do want to show you that is one people find often useful is your general ledger preferences. So if you are someone who is often in the general ledger reviewing a lot of the drill down capabilities, viewing your reports at month end, there's a number of different options that you may want to take a look at here. So things like being able to have your journal category defaulted if you're always doing the same type of journal each month. That's a good one for your teams to take advantage of. Things like business unit and your data access set, as well as what shows as the ledger for your general accounting dashboard. So if your organization has multiple ledgers, multiple ledger sets, and you find you're constantly flipping from one to the other, and there's one that you use 80% of the time, then you do have the ability to come in here and really select what you want those options to be. So those are just some of the common preferences. As you can see, there's some other options like, if you don't have that picture up there, you have the option to select that in there as well. But just wanted to highlight some of the more commonly used ones that we find people asking about. So the next thing here that I want to walk you guys through is going to be around really those saved searches that were highlighted as one of the primary topics here. So I'm going to go here actually to my global search, and I'm going to go to a certain area of the system that I think is a good example to be able to do those saved searches. I'm going to actually go to my invoices. So I was able to do that from that global search that I showed you guys earlier. This takes me to my accounts payable invoice landing page. where you have your scanned queue. So if anyone's familiar with your AP invoices scanned queue, we actually do have our topic for next month is going to be really focused and dedicated on that AP invoice scanning topic. I want to show you guys here next, if I go to manage invoices, some of our key features for saved searches. So I always like to use invoices as an example here because I think it's one that just resonates with a lot of people, or is one that most can understand. But if there's any preference from the group on seeing a certain area, definitely feel free to ask that question. So to do my saved search, I have the option here to save just based off these default fields, but I typically am gonna go into my advanced so that I have the opportunity to add on those additional fields, as well as, you know, flip these different options here as well. So if I want to do, you know, a saved search that's going to be on all of my open invoices or just all of my invoice history for the past month per se, I can come here and do my invoice number, do that does not equal that that a lot of you may be familiar with to really pull that whole list of invoices. And I'm going to go ahead and do an invoice date that is after June 1st. Get selected here. And just as a reminder, you may be familiar already, the option to add fields. I definitely recommend coming in here and getting familiar with these. There's a very long list of fields, right, to be able to add. Routing attributes, if you're using those for your AP invoice scanning, is a common one that we see. Validation status is another common one that we see. But just want to make sure that you do take that again, 5-10 minutes to really go through that list and see which of these might be most useful to you, as this really tends to be a bit more preference and your various needs. So after I've added the fields I want, after I've populated the data in here, the default data that I always want to be part of my saved search going forward, I have the option to go ahead and click save. And from there, I can name it whatever I want. So I can say all invoices after June 1st. And I have the option to either set it as my default, run automatically, and it'll going forward appear in my list here. So these are all my list of saved searches. These are actually default ones from Oracle. So always have the option to come in here and personalize and adjust this list again, this saved search again later down the road. If I want to rename it, if I want to make it the default later on, I have the opportunity to do that. The last thing really that I want to highlight from this page here that I would definitely encourage you to go through are some of the actions once I do the search. So after I've done the saved search, couple things is first and foremost, this export to Excel you may be familiar with already, but want to make sure that you are tailoring that to your saved searches. So something that we get asked a lot is, hey, I have these various reports that people in our organization need to run. It's a list of AP invoices. It's based on invoice status and just invoices for the month, as well as invoice approver. That to me sounds like it could just be more of a saved search. So that way, every time someone's asking for an ad hoc inquiry like that, you don't need to go create a report for them or show them how to create a report. Saved searches will often meet those same needs because of this option to export to Excel. So that's a really key feature that, again, while you may have been aware of it, want to make sure you are all thinking with that mindset that it could be an opportunity to steer away from creating new reports every time those queries are coming in. The other thing that I want to make sure you are all taking advantage of is the view options. So if I click on any number of these records here, this is going to be true across the entire application, not just AP, keep in mind. So everything I'm showing you is really, if you go to fixed assets, if you go to your general ledger, these same things apply. If I click on view here and about this record, we get a lot of questions about, hey, I need to be able to see, you know, this record changed. I'm not sure what happened. You always have the ability to come in here and see who created the record, who last updated it, as well as what was that creation date and the last update date. I can manage all of my columns from here. So if I want to show all, I can do that. There's a lot here, so I'm not going to do that. But if I wanted to just show one field in particular, like my paid status is a common one that you may want to display here, I can do so. And then I can go ahead and on, you know, columns here, I can add this query. So query by example, I add that paid status, and now I'm able to actually query on it to see I want anything that says fully paid. Or probably more realistic is you really want to see anything that's not paid yet. I can do that query from there, press enter on my keyboard, and it filters out just the list of not paid. I can also come in here, and if I have multiple columns I want to add at once, I can scroll all the way to the bottom and click on Manage Columns. So hidden columns on the left, visible on the right. And if I want to reorder things, move invoice number down or all the way to the bottom, I can do so. If I want to move things back, I can just actually double click and it'll hide it. And if I even want to select multiple at once, I can do that as well by clicking the first row that I want, pressing Shift on my keyboard and clicking the last row. So definitely one of those areas where it is worth spending some time making updates to make this personalized to what you need. Okay. And then really last thing here is want to make sure you are aware of the sort capabilities. So being able to sort by invoice number or really any of the fields that you see here, you can add multiple sorts after that. So it's not just, oh, you have to pick one field. You have the option to sort up to 3 different fields in ascending or descending. Right now it's currently sorted by invoice number. All right, and then with the last few minutes here, I want to show you one more thing, which is our vacation rules. So this was just a quick snippet on saved searches, various capabilities there that I wanted to walk you guys through today to make sure you're taking advantage of. Again, this will apply everywhere throughout the system and not just your accounts payable. So last but not least, moving into our vacation rules. So vacation rules is going to be the use case really when you are going on vacation and you have approval workflow and you want to make sure that while you're out, you're not having to log in and check your email and keep those approvals going. You can actually delegate it or reassign to somebody else on your team to manage those approvals in your place while you're out for a dedicated time period that you specify. So to set up the vacation rules here, I'm going to go to my work list, which is my bell icon here. And I'm going to go ahead and click on show all. I'll go to work list. And then once I'm in my work list, I'll go to my name in the top and I will click on preferences. And from there, I can enable my vacation period. So if I select my enable vacation period and I select my start date, so maybe I'm going next week and I'm trying to get ahead and set my out of office on, I can set it for next week, my start and end date. And then I really just select the option of either reassign or delegate. So if I click the magnifying glass here, maybe I'm not sure that person's username, I just know their first name or their last name. I have the ability to come in here and search by any one of these fields that you see, select that user, click OK. And then all I would have to do to have this go into effect is click the save button here. Last but not least, if you have a situation where you need one person to approve your expense reports that are coming to you while you're out and another person to do time cards, for example, or one person is journal entries, a different person for AP invoices, right? Really any instance where you don't just have one set person to send it to, you do have the option to come in here to my rules and actually create a new rule and use as vacation rule. So I won't get into detail on different use cases for that, unfortunately, today. But you do have that ability to come in here and add some additional override logic if you have some really unique scenarios for your different vacation rules. So that was all we had planned to show you guys today. Hopefully that was helpful to see the different options throughout the system, just to make your day-to-day life a little bit easier here. So Rebecca, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you, Caitlin. That was fantastic. We actually do have a few questions from the audience. First one, on that last topic you just touched on, the vacation rules. The question is, what is the difference between reassign and delegate?
Great question. So reassign versus delegate is one that is commonly confused between the two. Very similar concepts. So reassign is going to be what you want to do if you are truly saying, I want to reassign this to another user to handle, and I want their entire approval hierarchy to be used for the rest of the approval. So if you have those multiple levels, it'll follow their hierarchy. Whereas delegate, it's going to be more so, it'll be that one action delegated to them. Once their delegate approves, it'll come back to the rest of your approval hierarchy from there. So both options really work, but a slight difference in how you'll see them act.
Okay, yeah, great clarification. You want to make sure your vacation rules are set up correctly, right? You don't want to be bothered while you're on vacation. So
yes, exactly. No need to check that email.
that's right. Perfect. One more question for you. For the saved search export to Excel, will the Excel output include all the column updates that you've made?
That is a good question. Yes. So when you do that export to Excel after the saved search, it's going to show the exact columns that you have up. So if you hit a column, or you added a new column, or you reordered it, even whatever you do in the saved search and the column settings is what will show when you do that export to Excel.
Excellent. Okay. And actually, we just had one more question pop in. For the updates to your preferences and work list, are those updates that will apply to everyone or just your own user account?
So it will apply just to your own user account. So everything actually that I showed today, that will be the case. It will apply just to your own user account. So really important that it's great for everyone today to get an idea of how to do these things, but make sure that you're taking that back to the rest of the users in your organization as well.
Thank you everyone for taking the time to be with us here today. I hope this training was valuable, that you're taking some good learnings back to your team and your workplace. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any additional questions that we weren't able to get to today. And please remember, this series is for you. So if there is a topic that you'd like to see, please do not hesitate to reach out and let us know, and keep your eye on your inbox for next month's training. Thank you everyone, and have a great day.